What if you dared to live as though your desire was already true? What if you ceased waiting for signs, for readiness, for perfection, and instead moved as though you were already the one who had become? Every buried dream, every unpursued vision was not abandoned because it was out of reach, but because you did not assume the feeling of its reality. You hesitated, you waited, not because you lacked talent or insight, but because you failed to move in faith. You paused, believing that motivation or divine timing would carry you forward. But in that pause, your inner fire dimmed, your opportunities drifted by, and your imagined self became only that. Imagine. Let me tell you a truth eternal. The greatest enemy of manifestation is not failure. It is hesitation. It is the pause between desire and embodiment. That split second where the dream calls you to act and the doubt whispers, wait. In that instant, the scales tip towards stagnation or transformation. But now, we draw the line. You were not created to remain still. You were not brought forth to wait on life. You were born to create, to move, to live as though it were so. The part of you that knows how to step forward, that pushes through illusion, that trusts the unseen, it is still within you. It waits to be awakened. So let this be no mere inspiration. Let it be an invocation. A command. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and act from that state. Not later. Not tomorrow. Now, okay. The life you desire is not at rest. It moves. And if you wish to meet it, you must match its movement. Here's the truth most never dare to say. It is not lack of talent that stops people. It is their refusal to move in faith. They build castles in mind, but never lay a single stone. They conflate thinking with doing. They wait for a feeling called readiness, and when it never comes, they remain still. Motivation is a phantom. It fades. It deceives. It speaks softly in the morning and is gone by noon. But the one who acts, even without motivation, rewires reality. Action from assumption is the foundation of all creation. Do not wait for confidence. Move and confidence will meet you on the path. Those who have reshaped the world were not without fear. They simply did not obey it. They moved anyway. They have already arrived, even when nothing around you yet reflects it. This is the truth that will separate those who move mountains from those who only admire them. The future you long for is not waiting at some far-off finish line. It is waiting to be embodied now. You see, the final illusion we must dissolve is the belief that our circumstances need to shift before we are allowed. That the proof must come first. That change in the world precedes change in the self. But look closely. Every breakthrough you've ever had was born from a moment where you decided, without permission, without applause, to be different, to move differently, to carry yourself as someone who no longer negotiates with limitation. This is the essence of arrival, the refusal to postpone your power. The moment you choose to live as the person who already holds the outcome, you are no longer becoming, you are. And from that identity, everything flows. Not through effortful striving, but through aligned expression. So what does this look like in the details of your life? It looks like showing up to your work as if it's already your legacy. It looks like honoring your body as if it's already sacred. It looks like speaking your truth as if your voice is already respected. It looks like building your dream not as a project of desperation, but as an inevitable unfolding. Arrival is not a single decision. It is a continuous remembrance. You will forget. You will fall into old patterns. You will hear the voice that says, "You're not there yet." But the work is not to silence that voice. The work is to no longer believe it. You get to answer every moment with a choice. Do I act from my past or my future? The past will plead with you to play small. It will use old data, old pain, old habits as evidence. It will say, "This is who you've always been." But identity is not bound to history. It is shaped by decision. So choose the future, not with hope, with conviction, with action, with presence. Live today as if you've already crossed the finish line. Let your life become the ceremony of the one who knows the dream is fulfilled. Not someday. Now. That doesn't mean pretending. It doesn't mean faking confidence or suppressing fear. It means honoring fear and choosing. Anyway, it means being so loyal to your new identity that you let it shape your next breath, your next step. Your nervous system may resist this. It has been trained to recognize the familiar as safety, even when that familiarity is suffering. But you are not here to live a familiar life. You are here to become new, to embody what the past could not hold. And to do that, you must build evidence. You must stack small moments of integrity until your subconscious begins to trust you again. Not because you said you would change, but because you did. Each morning, before the world pulls at your attention, remind yourself, I've already arrived. Then ask, how does the one who has already arrived live today? They do not shrink in front of challenge. They do not bargain with fear. They do not ask for validation. They lead themselves. They choose standards and do not break them. They walk into rooms with presence, not to be seen, but because they see themselves. This is not about arrogance. It is about sacred certainty. It is the quiet inner knowing that says, I don't need to chase what I already carry. Because here's the secret. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. You stop signaling lack and start radiating sufficiency. And the world, being nothing more than your reflection, adjusts accordingly. But make no mistake, this is a discipline, a daily practice. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is forged in early mornings, in silent decisions, in the unseen moments when no one else is watching. That is where the shift becomes permanent, not in the outcomes, but in the internal agreements you refuse to break. So I'll ask you again, what would it look like to live today as if you've already arrived? Would you speak differently? Would you move with more grace? Would you finish what you start? Would you forgive faster? Would you spend less time seeking and more time serving? This is your practice now. Every moment is an invitation to anchor deeper into the version of you that no longer explains, defends, or hesitates. The one who simply is. Not because life made it easy. Not because the fear disappeared. But because you finally stopped waiting for permission to be who you already are. This is how you change your life, without waiting for the world to change. This is how arrival becomes not a finish line, but a frequency. Hold it, live it, and watch the world bend to meet you there. Arrival is not an event. It is not a destination reached with fanfare or finality. Arrival is a state of being, one you step into long before the world agrees with you. And that is the paradox. You must live as if you have already arrived, even when nothing around you yet reflects it. This is the truth that will separate those who move mountains from those who only admire them. The future you long for is not waiting at some far-off finish line. It is waiting to be embodied now. You see, the final illusion we must dissolve is the belief that our circumstances need to shift before we are allowed to. That the proof must come first. That change in the world precedes change in the self. But look closely. Every breakthrough you've ever had was born from a moment where you decided, without permission, without applause, to be different, to move differently, to carry yourself as someone who no longer negotiates with limitation. This is the essence of arrival, the refusal to postpone your power. The moment you choose to live as the person who already holds the outcome, you are no longer becoming, you are. And from that identity, everything flows. Not through effortful striving, but through aligned expression. So what does this look like in the details of your life? It looks like showing up to your work as if it's already your legacy. It looks like honoring your body as if it's already sacred. It looks like speaking your truth as if your voice is already respected. It looks like building your dream not as a project of desperation, but as an inevitable unfolding. Arrival is not a single decision. It is a continuous remembrance. You will forget. You will fall into old patterns. You will hear the voice that says, "You're not there yet." But the work is not to silence that voice. The work is to no longer believe it. You get to answer every moment with a choice. Do I act from my past or my future? The past will plead with you to play small. It will use old data, old pain, old habits as evidence. It will say, "This is who. Forgive faster." Would you spend less time seeking and more time serving? This is your practice now. Every moment is an invitation to anchor deeper into the version of you that no longer explains, defends, or hesitates. The one who simply is. Not because life made it easy. Not because the fear disappeared. But because you finally stopped waiting for permission to be who you already are. This is how you change your life without waiting for the world to change. This is how arrival becomes not a finish line, but a frequent. Hold it, live it, and watch the world bend to meet you there. There is a moment you cross, not with fanfare, but with fierce clarity. The moment where you are no longer seeking the life you desire, but activating it. Activation is not about hustle or volume or dramatic transformation. It is about alignment so precise that the signal you send into the world becomes unmistakable. I am ready. I am available. I am now. To activate the future you want, you must drop every condition you've attached to it. The belief that you need to feel better first. The thought that more knowledge is required. The idea that the right time will make it easier. All of that is delay wearing the mask of logic. Activation lives in the now. It begins when you look at what you already have, who you already are, and use it. Not in a month. Not after the next course. Not when you finally feel like it. Use it now. Because here is the truth most people will never understand. You are not waiting for a breakthrough. You are holding one hostage by your refusal to act without guarantee. The future does not open to those who knock timidly. It opens to those who enter boldly, not because they have certainty, but because they have declared, "I am no longer available for delay." Activation begins with that declaration. From there, the ordinary becomes sacred. Every action carries energy. Every word either feeds your vision or starves it. Every choice becomes a signal to life about what you believe is possible. So ask yourself not just once but daily, what am I broadcasting? Are you broadcasting "I believe in my vision"? Or are you leaking doubt with every excuse? Are you transmitting power through your posture, your tone, your follow-through? Or are you deferring it to a version of yourself that doesn't exist yet? Most people speak of desire and then contradict it with hesitation. They say, "I want this," but their behavior whispers, "I'm afraid to become the person who receives it." And so nothing changes, because the universe doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you are being. To activate your future, you must live as though it has already been granted. Not from delusion, but from responsibility. You are now the steward of the result you say you seek. This requires radical integrity. No more half measures. No more performative habits. No more waiting for emotional permission. You must become allergic to your own delay. You don't need more clarity. You need more commitment. Because the more you commit, the more clarity arrives. But clarity never precedes action. It is born from it. Start where you are. Use what you have. One, let the conditions be imperfect. Let the fear be present. But move. There is something powerful that happens when you take yourself seriously. When you say, "This matters, and I will no longer treat it like a hobby." When you begin to treat your calling, your growth, your evolution as non-negotiable. Suddenly, the way you show up changes. You say no more often. You speak more clearly. You stop chasing validation. You stop hiding behind preparation. Because you've made a choice. A sacred one. You're not dabbling anymore. You're not seeing if it works. You're not available for versions of yourself that tiptoe around greatness. You're here, fully. And your presence is a frequency that rewires everything it touches. This is how you collapse timelines. Not by force, but by alignment. You become such a clear vessel for what you want that life rushes to meet you where you are. Not because you begged it to, but because you became it. Activation means you stop leaking energy into doubt. You stop narrating your limitations. You stop entertaining the identity that only survives through inaction. You speak less of the past. You anchor more into now. You build rituals that reflect the level you claim to live at. You keep your word to yourself. You let consistency become your currency. That is how activation becomes sustainable. It is not a burst of action. It is a new standard. And from this standard, everything accelerates. People respond to you differently. Ideas flow more easily. Opportunities align. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. You're no longer sending mixed signals. You're broadcasting from embodiment, from ownership. There is no more asking if you deserve it. You decided you do. There is no more waiting for a sign. You became the signal. There is no more outsourcing your power. You reclaimed it. So here is your new mantra. I act now. I align now. I activate now. Repeat it. Live it. Let it take root in your nervous system until your old identity cannot survive in its presence. Because this is how you build an identity that doesn't need reinforcement. It reinforces itself through action, through repetition, through rising again and again, without applause, without ease, without certainty, but with fire. You came here to move mountains. Stop negotiating with pebbles. You came here to embody greatness. Stop asking for permission to begin. This is your moment, not tomorrow. Not when the timing is perfect. Now, activate the life that is waiting for you. Not by dreaming, not by wishing, but by stepping into the frequency of the person who no longer asks, when will it happen? And instead declares, it happens because I showed up. Show up. Now. Knew this. The discomfort of action is a feather beside the weight of regret. Regret compounds in silence. One delayed action becomes 2, then 10, then a life unlived. Understand, hesitation is not harmless. It is a builder of identity. Every time you pause, you teach your mind to fear movement. But identity is not fixed. You may revise it. You must begin to see yourself as the one who moves. Link thought and action. Imagine, and then step forward as though it were already true. Do not wait to feel brave. Speak when you tremble. Walk when your knees shake. Commit before you're certain. And watch as your mind reshapes around the identity of the doer. Discipline, you see, is not the enemy of freedom. It is its architect. The great ones were not driven by fleeting emotion. They moved by inner law. They did not act when it was easy. They acted because it was time. Emotion shifts. Motivation lies. But the one anchored in identity never wavers. The disciplined doer is not more talented, only more consistent. They rise not through genius, but through repetition, through the daily sacred commitment to keep becoming. Every action they take is a brick. Brick upon brick, they build the temple of the life they once imagined. Identity is the secret thread. As long as you see yourself as the hesitant one, you will hesitate. But shift your self-concept. See yourself as one who must succeed, and the world must bend to that belief. You become what you assume. So assume boldly. Walk in the image of your desire. Let your actions speak louder than fear. Repetition becomes momentum. Momentum becomes mastery. And soon the world no longer asks, "What are you doing?" It recognizes, "This is who you are." So ask, "What am I willing to no longer tolerate? What excuses will I bury today? And what would life look like if I replaced every hesitation with faithful, assumed action?" The answer, you already know. It would be unrecognizable. It would be divine. And that, dear one, is the life you came here to claim. Step into it. Not tomorrow. Now. The moment you choose to embody a new identity, everything begins to move. Not outwardly at first, but within. The outer world is merely the echo, but the inner shift, that is the source. To walk in a new identity is not to pretend. It is not an act. It is a sacred assumption, a choice to become the cause of your experience rather than the effect of your circumstances. And yet, this path requires more than occasional inspiration. Uncertainly attend It demands that you become intimate with momentum. Momentum is the quiet current that builds from your daily assumptions, your repeated decisions, your practiced self-concept. It is not about grand gestures or explosive change. It is about consistent alignment with the version of you who already is. See, most fall because they start from identity, but return to habit. They envision themselves bold, successful, radiant, but then slip back into the loops of waiting, doubting, avoid. And the mind, ever obedient, says, yes, this is who we are. But here is the truth. Momentum is identity in motion. And to sustain it, you must build a rhythm, a harmony between thought, feeling, and action. This is not a call for busyness. This is about purposeful movement. Movement that flows from an inner knowing. Let us go deeper. Momentum begins in the unseen. Before a single step is taken, there is the decision, the silent inner nod that says, "I am this now." Not one day, not when it's convenient. Now. From that point forward, your every action must match that declaration. This is not about forcing the external world to bend. This is about bringing yourself into agreement with the identity you have claimed. And when that alignment becomes consistent, the outer world must follow. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fearless. You need only be faithful to the assumption. The assumption that you are already the person you seek to become. If you say, "I am the committed one," then every small action becomes sacred. Making the bed, finishing the page, showing up to the meeting on time. These are not tasks. They are rituals. Each one a vote for your new identity. Each one a brushstroke on the canvas of your new self. But here is where many falter. They assume the identity in thought, but contradict it in behavior. They say, "I am a writer," yet wait for inspiration to write. They say, "I am successful," but hesitate to invest in their vision. And so the self-image fractures. Momentum breaks. This is not failure. This is a call to return, to realign, down, to close the gap between who you believe you are and what you do each day. Consistency is not rigidity. It is trust in the process. It is belief in the unseen harvest that your actions are planting. Most demand results too soon. But to the wise understand, the seed does not sprout because you ask it to. It grows because it is its nature to do so, once nurtured. And so, nurture your identity. Protect your momentum. Do not speak against your progress. Do not narrate your old story while claiming a new chapter. The mind thrives on proof, and proof comes through action. You cannot wait to feel worthy of your new identity. You must act as though it were already true, until your being forgets the old story completely. Let me offer you this. Discipline is not punishment. It is not restriction. It is reverence. It is the daily act of bowing to your highest self and saying, I choose you again today. And in time, the external world begins to echo that choice. Opportunities open, relationships align, resources arrive, but they are not the cause, they are the reflection. There is no rush, but there must be movement. Do not confuse stillness with peace, if your stillness is avoidance. Do not confuse quiet with alignment if your quiet is fear in disguise. Ask yourself, how does the version of me who already is show up today? What do they say? How do they walk? What do they choose in moments of resistance? Then do that. Not once, not until it's hard, but until it becomes who you are without effort. Because here is the deepest truth. The moment momentum becomes your identity, effort becomes ease. You are no longer acting, you are living. You are no longer hoping, you are knowing. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering who you were before the world told you to be small. It is about shedding the masks of hesitation and stepping fully into the rhythm of your becoming. Keep the rhythm. Protect the flow. The mind will scream, the past will knock, the fear will linger. Let it. But do not stop, because the moment you stop, the momentum dies. And with it, the self you were just beginning to know. So, no more false start. No more pauses dressed as preparation. No more rewinding the tape of limitation. Assume the identity. Begin the rhythm. And let momentum carry you into a life that finally matches the vision you have held in your heart for far too long. Because you are not waiting anymore. You are moving. You are rising. You are remembering. This is your rhythm now. Let it play. There comes a point on the path where movement is no longer a strategy. It is your nature. You do not act to become. You act because you already are. To live from the end is to embody your desired future before it arrives. Not with strained effort, but with relaxed certainty. This is the essence of momentum when it becomes identity. You no longer strive for change, you operate from it. But let us be clear, this state is not attained through willpower alone. It is cultivated through deep embodiment, through choosing again and again to respond to life from your highest assumption. You are always embodying something. Every action, every word, every thought is a broadcast of who you believe yourself to be. So the question is not, can I become? The question is, what am I currently embodying? And is it in harmony with the vision I claim? When you speak about your goals, do you speak as someone who has already arrived? Or do you speak as someone hoping to arrive? When you take action, do you move with the composure of someone grounded in inevitability? Or do you move with the nervous energy of someone still doubting? The answers reveal the truth. Momentum is not created by motion alone, but by aligned motion. Motion rooted in the assumption of the end. Consider this. A king does not ask permission to rule. A writer does not wait for validation to begin. A leader does not wonder if they are allowed to lead. They act from the inner command. This is who I am. That command does not need shouting. It is not loud. It is not forceful. It is quiet, firm, and unshakable. That is the energy of one who has embodied their chosen self fully. The error many make is to believe they must become confident, successful, ready. But becoming is a loop that never ends. Embodiment breaks the loop. You decide who you are, and then you live from that state without negotiation. This is where momentum deepens into power, because when embodiment becomes your norm, every step affirms the identity you chose and died or now. You are no longer split between who you were and who you wish to be. You are unified, And from that unity, clarity arises. Decisions become simple. You don't ask, should I do this? You ask, does this align with who I already am? You don't need external encouragement to act. You don't need sign. You don't need the stars to align. You are the sign. You are the authority. You move because it is consistent with who you are. That kind of embodiment radiates. It communicates more than your words ever could. People feel it. Circumstances respond to it. Life mirrors back to you the unwavering truth of your self-concept. This is why hesitation is so dangerous. Not because it delays action, but because it fractures identity. Each moment of hesitation tells the subconscious, we are unsure. And the subconscious will reflect that back into your world. But each act of bold, aligned movement reinforces the opposite. We are certain. We are steady. We are becoming nothing. We already are. And the beauty of this is that embodiment is available in every moment. No matter what happened yesterday, no matter how long you've waited. In this very breath, you can return to the assumption. You can step back into alignment. And from there, momentum resumes. There is no need to fall. No need to chase. The embodied self does not hustle. They don't run after outcome. They magnetize them. Because the world responds not to effort alone, but to presence, to energy, to the subtle but powerful declaration, I am already that. So now the work is this. Stop analyzing whether you're doing enough. Stop obsessing over metrics and external milestones. And instead, ask, am I being the version of me that already has what I see? If the answer is no, return. Close your eyes. See that version clearly. Feel what they feel. Think what they think. Move how they move. And then walk into the world as them. Make no announcement. Just move. Let your actions speak. Let your presence signal the shift. Let life recalibrate to match your inner transformation. Because the world doesn't change when you get more followers or more praise or more luck. It changes when you stop living in contradiction. When your self-concept, your emotion, and your behavior all say the same thing. I am this now. And here's the mystery most overlooked. When you live this way, the results that once seemed impossible begin to feel obvious. Natural. Effortless. Not because you lowered your expectations, but because you finally stopped resisting your power. This is the realm of inevitability, where outcomes flow to you because they are now consistent with who you've become. So I ask you, what would happen if you stopped trying to manifest and started living as though the manifestation were done? What would shift if you stopped performing success and started embodying it? What if you let go of the timeline, the doubt, the hesitation, and simply stepped into the self who already lives the life you desire? You don't need permission. You don't need signs. You need only one thing, a decision. The decision to walk in the fullness of your vision. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. No. But now. Because identity is not what you think. It's what you do. It's how you show up. It's the energy you bring to the smallest of tasks. Let each task be holy. Let each breath be a return. Let each step be an offering to the version of you that no longer waits. You are not here to become. You are here to remember, to reclaim, to realign. This is the path of momentum, Evolve. This is the power of embodiment. This is who you are now. Live it. There is a sacred threshold few ever cross, the moment you realize that nothing external needs to change for your life to change. That shift does not come from hustle, praise, or opportunity. It comes from a single internal decision to live in perfect alignment with the version of you who no longer waits. This is not an intellectual exercise. It is a complete reordering of your being. A total surrender to the self who already exists beyond hesitation, beyond doubt, beyond delay. To live from this place is to strip away every story that says not yet and replace it with the embodied truth, I am now. But embodiment is not built in theory. It is built through the thousands of moments each day where you are given a choice to act as the old self or to stand firm in the new. You will not always feel like the new version. You will not always be confident, certain, or clear. That is irrelevant. Feeling is a consequence, not a requirement. Identity leads. Emotion follows. So here is the deeper teaching. The life you want is not a prize to be earned, but a reality to be chosen. Again and again, in the moments where it is hardest to do so. Your habits, your thoughts, your posture, your pace, all of them are mirrors. They reflect back to you the level of embodiment you are operating from. If the mirror reflects hesitation, the work is not to adjust the mirror. It is to adjust the self that stands before it. The version of you who already has what you desire does not second-guess the path. They walk it. Not because they know every step, but because they trust the one who is walking. That is the key. Trusting yourself, not because of past evidence, but because of present decision. The shift happens when you stop acting for results and begin acting from identity. You do not go to the gym to become fit. You go because you are someone who honors their temple. You do not write to become an author. You write because you are a channel for truth. You do not speak up to become confident. You speak because your voice carries value. When the actions of your day begin flowing from that place, everything changes. Not immediately on the outside, but permanently on the inside. And the inside always is what creates the out. Let me be clear. The world will still test you. The old voices will still whisper. The habits of delay will still knock. But the difference now is this. You have chosen. You have chosen to no longer respond as the version of you who waits. You have chosen to act as the one who moves. That choice, held in devotion, becomes power. Each morning is a new initiation. You are not just waking up to tasks and responsibilities. You are waking up to the opportunity to rehearse the self you have already declared. The one who moves boldly, loves deeply, speaks truth, and walks in quiet, unshakable certainty. And this rehearsal is not performance. It is not pretense. It is preparation. You are preparing reality to match your new standard by refusing to return to your old one. This is the secret to true transformation. Not forcing change from the outside, but holding the frequency of the new self so consistently that the world can no longer deny it. There will be days when it feels like nothing is shifting. Days when the evidence looks the same. But do not be fooled. The outer world is always lagging behind your inner world. You do not check the soil the day after planting and declare the seed a failure. You wait. You remain. And in that faith you rise. Let your life become a meditation on alignment. Let every choice become a conversation with the future. Ask yourself not, what do I feel like doing? But rather, what would the embodied version of me do now? Then do that. Over time, something miraculous happens. You no longer have to ask. The gap closes. You become. Not by waiting. Not by watching. But by walking. This is what the world has been waiting for. Not your perfection. Not your certainty. But your presence. Your decision to show up as though the dream were already real. Because it is. The bridge between now and the life you imagine is not time. It is choice. Not the grand dramatic kind, but the quiet, repeated kind. The kind you make when no one is watching. The kind you make when it would be easier not to. The kind you make when every part of you wants to retreat, but you choose to rise anyway. This is where embodiment is forged. So remember this, you are never waiting for change. You are creating it. With your breath, your choices, your assumptions, your posture, your pace. The future is not coming. It's here. It lives in every decision you make right now. Choose the self who has already arrived, and then live as them. Not once. Not when it's easy. Not when the world applauds. Every moment. Every step. Until the old self fades into memory, and the new one becomes the only reality you know. This is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of the one you were always meant to walk. Walk it well. Walk it as the one who already is. Because that is the true arrival. Arrival is not an event. It is not a destination reached with fanfare or finality. Arrival is a state of being, one you step into long before the world agrees with you. And that is the paradox. You must live as if you